Welcome back to another episode of the Shout at the Devils podcast. I'm Daniel Amoia. I run Devils Report on Instagram as well as write for the Hockey Writers. I'm here alongside Justin Brady, who runs Devils Fanatics on Instagram. And the news everyone was waiting for, Luke Hughes finally extended with the New Jersey Devils after a pretty lengthy holdout. 7 years, 63 million total, so that's 9 million average annual value. The exact same deal Dougie Hamilton got, so they are now tied as the two highest paid players on the Devils. Pretty hefty money. All three Hughes brothers now are just rolling in the dough and well deserved. I mean, it's pretty incredible what that whole family has done, and to even just have one kid become a first round pick is astonishing. To have three, it's just unheard of in sports. So props to them. Seems like they're all happy with it, and obviously big for the Devils now because it was becoming a pretty big distraction. So, Justin, when you saw the deal, what were your thoughts?
I had a feeling that they were gonna go around the $9 million per year range. That there was like a report that came out that he was gonna get Brock Faber type of money, and it makes sense because in the next few years the cap is gonna rise like crazy, and players are trying to anticipate for that, like for when that happens. So their looks a lot better in 2, 3 years down the line, and that's the case here. People are saying it's a slight overpay. Like you, as of now, you could say that, but when we're 2, 3, 4 years down the line, and Luke Hughes is a top 10 defenseman consistently every single season, it look like an absolute steal, in my opinion. You look at Kirill Kaprizov. Yes, he's a hell of a player, one of the best in the league, but no player right now I think is worth 17 million per year unless your name's Connor McDavid. And the Minnesota Wild had to do that because they weren't going to bring him back if it wasn't for that money. So they had to do what they had to do. But getting Luke for basically half of that and the potential that comes with him, he already had amazing progress from year one to year two, and then we're expecting another leap from year two to year three. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for him, and it's exciting to have him locked up for 7 years. It's important that the contract was long term. There was like some reports coming out that he wanted to get a 5 year contract to match Jack's contract, and both of them would be entering free agency in 2030. And honestly, that wouldn't be an ideal situation because there's a real likelihood, like if the Devils are not really contending that much as the Hughes brothers want them to in the next 5 years, there's a good chance both of them could be leaving. So now it's like, all right, Jack's contract's up in 2030. Luke is now 2032. We could also bring up Quinn. I'm not going to get fully into that, but I mean, it's a real possibility. It really is. And that could be something for a whole nother episode. But it's good to have Luke locked up. One of your top players locked up for a very long time. I good contract overall, no complaints.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the cap situation because that does play a major factor. If you're looking at Luke Hughes, if you're going based on, like you said, right now, it's probably a slight overpay, but you can't deny the potential. He is still so young. What is he, 21 years old right now? Like he just turned drinking age in America. Like, the sky's the limit for him. And if you look at Jack Hughes's contract, it was the same kind of deal when they extended Jack. People were saying, "Oh, overpay, he's a bust, blah blah blah." And now look at Jack Hughes. It's regarded pretty much consensus across the league that it's one of the best contracts in the entire league. And you know his agent Pat Brisson did not want that to happen again with Luke. I think it was a pretty fair price. Um, Luke had 20 points in his final 22 games last season. I feel like the narrative around him would have been completely different if he didn't get hurt in the playoffs. And I think that might have worked to the Devils' favor because if Luke has a generational playoff run last season, maybe the price is a little higher. So it's a fair price. And when you look down the road, that 9 million in say 5, 6 years might be more like the equivalent to like 6 million. The cap's going to go up a ton. The NHL continues to do well. The Devils as a franchise valuation from Sportico went up over 20%. They're I think 11th in the league, so they're on the better half in terms of franchise valuation, and for a small market, that's pretty impressive. So Yeah, New Jersey, I know it's a small market, but in a way, it's kind of a big market. They brought in a lot of stars, a lot of elite talent. They have a pretty respectable core now. They obviously need to go do more in the playoffs, but the pieces are there. They haven't really operated like a small market in recent seasons. So Luke Hughes is just, he's going to be such a stud in the league. He has a good head on his shoulders, too, I think. Very mature for his age. He said it himself yesterday. He basically bag skated himself constantly over in Michigan, so he doesn't feel like he's far off. Sheldon Keefe said he doesn't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to go on opening night. So Luke Hughes is going to be a very important piece. And Quinn dealt with it a few years back, and it's turned out pretty well for Quinn Hughes as well. Possibly future Devil. Well, like you said, we'll get into that in a different episode. That leads me to a quick side note before anything else. I feel so bad for Canucks fans. Like you have to go on social media every day and see this and I'm sure to an extent it feels almost inevitable that your star defenseman is on the way out and there's nothing you could do about it because you don't have his brothers. And again, anything could happen. It could be long down the road. It could be in 15 years when they're all in the tail end of their career and they all sign a 1 year deal just to make it happen. Who knows? But if I was a Canucks fan, I would not be happy. I would probably delete every social media app off my phone because I would not be able to stand in, justifiably so. So, anyway, yeah, Luke Hughes, I think great contract. It's gonna age well, and health is the biggest thing. He has seemed to stay healthy for the most part. Had the shoulder surgery this off season. It was funny yesterday. He was asked how'd surgery go, and he goes good. Well, it sucked, but um, but glad to see that his shoulder's good now, back up to speed, and yeah, he's gonna be great.
Yeah, I totally agree. Excited to have him back in the there. Probably be paired up with Brett Pesce, who he was really like them two were like a dynamic duo on defense last season, complemented each other very well. Pesce brought the defense. Luke defensive game got a lot better because of Pesci, I feel like. And also, Luke started finding a balance of his game towards the end of the season, as you noted, of offense and defense. So to really get that two-way type-ish player out of him would be amazing for the Devils. And also, I wonder, like, is Luke Hughes gonna take over the quarterback role on the top power play unit, or is that gonna be Dougie Hamilton's spot? I think that's a very valid question to bring up right now. I really don't know whose spot that is right now because as of now it is Dougie's, but we haven't seen Luke really practice with the team full time yet to figure out any power play unit that he's involved in yet. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I from what it seemed like yesterday, it seemed like Sheldon Keefe was hinting towards the fact that Luke would start on power play one. He said, yes, he's going to have a very big role this year. So we never know for sure. Obviously, he's gonna have to get up to game speed, but it seems like he's pretty close. And there were those comments that Jack made to ESPN over a few weeks ago, actually, where he basically said, "Yeah, I hope Luke starts on power play one." And we know Jack Hughes, he's someone who the Devils organization rightfully wants to keep happy. And so just on that alone, it would not surprise me whatsoever if Luke started on power play one, but I think it'd be well deserved too. That's nothing against Dougie Hamilton. If Hamilton is healthy, having him on power play too, I mean, the Devils' power play was second in the league last year for a reason. That doesn't happen by accident. And that was having two capable power play quarterbacks is a huge thing, and most teams can't say they have that. So I'm expecting a lot of success if those two defensemen are healthy on the man advantage. We've seen it in the preseason. Their power play, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would assume it's up there towards the top of the league. It seems like they've been pretty automatic, which is what you want when your top guys are playing in a preseason. So, yeah, speaking of preseason, there have been a lot of good signs for the Devils. You could say for all intents and purposes their preseason is over because their last game against Philly, they're going to be resting basically all their starters. They're just putting out an AHL lineup. So we've seen a lot from certain guys kind of getting the gist of how the season's going to start, who's going to be in the lineup. I want to know, Justin, who are a couple players that maybe stood out to you this preseason?
First off, it's the one that everybody loves, Telegram's favorite, Arseny Gritsuk. He's been fun to watch. He really has, whether he's been playing on the fourth line with Cotter and Glendening or with during practice he was paired with Hughes and Bratt. Like, I feel like you could really put him anywhere and it's gonna work right now. Just to start off first, on the power play, he just I it's not even because he's Russian. He just reminds me of Ilya Kovalchuk with that absolute wicked one-timer that he has. And if the Devils could get him on their power play 2 unit, like this could be like you have like Dougie Hamilton, Gritsuk, and Timo Meyer maybe on your power play 2 unit. Like that helps a lot. Mercer, you could put on the number one or vice versa between Meyer and Mercer, but like I feel much more confident about the second power play unit going into this season. They could also put Gritsuk on number one. Like I'm sure they'll shuffle things up as the season's going on, but his shot is like the biggest thing that stands out to me. And it's not like he can keep up with the pace and everything like that. I feel like he's been pretty tough on pucks for the most part. Been involved there. He had a beautiful pass to Paul Cotter yesterday on the 2-on-1. It was a very tough pass to make, and he could have just looked off him and take the shot, but he found Cotter, perfect pass. Cotter buries it to give the Devils the 1-0 lead. Nothing but great things to say about him, and just overall, like it just seems like he's just an amazing guy, and every single time, like he just seems like such a genuine, down to earth person. So. I'm already behind him. Like I want to get his jersey already. He seems like an amazing guy, and an amazing guy that will help this team win games. Hopefully, they can get 20 to 30 goals from him this season. Just some offensive contributions from him. And then another one, Luke Glendening. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to add about a week ago, Sheldon Keefe had one single criticism for Gritsuk, and he said he's turned over the puck a little more than we'd like, and that's understandably. I think that's a good sign actually when you look at someone like that, and he's not afraid to be aggressive. You'd rather that than him be timid, but I looked at the numbers, and here are three players who have turned over the puck more frequently than Arseny Gritsuk this preseason. Connor McDavid, Jake Gensel, Nikita Kucherov. So it's really not that big of a deal. And everything else, like you said, Justin, he's just really surprised. I mean, I was expecting him to be good, but Ryan Novozinski said it last night. He's been better than good. And we know how important depth scoring was for the Devils last season. And if he's able to be a guy who, and I don't want to put all the pressure, but even just 40 points, that completely changes the dynamic with how little the Devils were getting from most of those guys last season. And I think he has this raw skill set to be a 50 plus point player. So I just want to add that.
I think so too. And to add on, like Luke Glendening, like another one that had just come in and like been a pleasant surprise. Like I don't know if he's gonna be a player that's regularly in the lineup when Stefan Nason returns and things get shuffled in the lineup. But like I mean, he's a good piece to have. Like you were telling me yesterday against the Rangers, he had a 71% faceoff win percentage. And that's great right there. Like I we bring up like Michael McLeod, right? Like his just him as a hockey player, right? Like he was so good in the faceoff circle and was such a great player for the Devils in that bottom six role. And they really haven't had a player like that since he left. And to get a player like that with Glendening, not the offensive upside with him, but maybe like more like the defensive upside, and he could win faceoffs, crucial faceoffs when your team needs it most. That's a big deal, and it seems like this preseason so far, he I think he scored a goal, right? And then he also has complimented Paul Cotter or Arseny Gritsuk very well. Like, I mean, like it doesn't seem like Nason's gonna be back for the start of the season. And if that's like your fourth line opening night, like I feel very confident about it. Or that will change at some point that line, but like to start off, I mean, they look like they're like a well-oiled machine out there, those three. So, very confident, like what I'm seeing from Glendening and especially Arseny Gritsuk.
Yeah, Cotter said it last night. He said we're the fourth line out there, but it doesn't look like it with the way we're making plays. And that's the truth. I mean, they've looked like a more like a middle six scoring line, but they also provide that checking, that grit. You mentioned Michael McLeod's face-off ability, Eric Halla as well. Obviously, they didn't get the offense or defense they wanted from him last season, but in the circle, he was very good, and they need another presence because aside from Nico Hischier, Cody Glass is okay in the circle, I believe, but they don't have that dominant face-off presence, and Glendening has been that throughout his lengthy NHL career. He's just a veteran. He knows how it goes. You can't have enough of those guys because they bring that leadership that younger guys simply can't because they haven't been around as much. So I'm excited to see Glendening. For me, Simone Nemitz really stood out, and I know most people thinking to this are probably just replaying that goal in his head where he tries to clear it, goes right off Adam Edstrom and through Markstrom's 5 hole. But Nemitz has just really looked night and day from last season. It's like he continued his playoff run. He just looks confident. He looks poised. He is not making those bad decisions. And of course, it sounds bad when he made probably the worst decision of all last night, but it's a fluky bounce. It's going to happen. What sets it apart for me is that last year's Nemitz, I think back to that Winnipeg game when he was like a -4, he would have let that spiral out of control and just been a disaster the rest of the game. This year's Nemitz, he picks right back up, and the Devils dominated the pace of play afterward. I think after that error, he the Devils had 6 scoring chances to the Rangers 1 after that happened when Nemitz was on the ice. So he just looks the part of a top 4 defenseman, and we saw how that could work in the playoffs. The Devils are much better off if he's able to do that. And it's a responsible two-way game. I think kind of like a Damon Severson, but with less mistakes and more offensive upside, which Damon Severson, pretty overhated player in his Devils tenure. He was solid, and I think Nemitz could be certainly better than he was. We saw Severson in that third pair role in 22-23 was very solid and helped the Devils have a pretty complete decor alongside Ryan Graves. I think we could see the same thing with Brendan Dillon and Nemitz, similar situation. Um, so yeah, Nemitz has really stood out, and he said it himself. It's the confidence we saw in the playoffs. How it was like a light bulb went off, and he was just a much better player. So yeah, I can't say enough about Nemitz, and even physically, he's getting involved in those scrums. We saw one in the first preseason game against the Rangers, now again against the Rangers. There was a sequence yesterday in the first where he kind of got tangled up with Matt Rempe, 6'9" Matt Rempe. Obviously, Nemitz much shorter than that, and wasn't afraid to give him a shove. Got tangled up with Trocheck as well. Um, he's not shying away. He's showing he wants to make a statement and belong in the National Hockey League, and he's kind of a warrior too, guy that's not afraid to block shots. Not gonna light up the hits category, but he'll play a physical game. He could win puck battles. Just been super impressed with Nemitz. And then my second player, I'm probably gonna have to go Connor Brown because we talked about that veteran presence. Brown is not someone similar to Glendening who's gonna wow you. He's not gonna put up elite offensive numbers, though they'll be respectable. But he just seems like he belongs on a championship team. This is a guy that's been to 2 Stanley Cups in a row now and come so close, but not been able to break through. And I think that's made him hungry. He is one of the faster guys in the league, and same could be said for Evgeny Dadonov. He's excellent on the penalty kill. He has great hands. I was not expecting that. Something that's really stood out to me. His hands are phenomenal. And it seems like he just has a nose for doing what's right. He does all the little things right. And again, that's not just exclusive to Brown. All the new guys, Glendening, Dadonov, and even Gritzik, um, doing all the little things right, playing a responsible game. I really do feel like I know it was hard with the cap and the Luke situation for Fitzgerald to do much other than those bottom 6 additions, but the Devils basically have penned in their core. So getting those supplemental pieces, gone are the days of, and respect to these guys on their journeys, but Nathan Bastian, Curtis Lazar, Eric Hall, Tomas Tatar in the bottom six, Justin Dowling, they just weren't getting it done offensively and even defensively at times as well. The Devils knew they had to upgrade, and props for them for doing so. I just really do think they're in a much better spot, and you still got to play the game for a reason. I think back to our conversation last year, Justin, where it seemed like the Devil, at least you thought the Devils were on a Stanley Cup trajectory, and they ended up first round exits. So a lot can happen. Obviously, health is the biggest thing. Health again plagued the Devils last season, which hopefully, fingers crossed, that is not the case, because you don't want to wish injury on anyone. I mean, it's just been brutal the last 2 seasons, but I really do think these bottom six additions, given that they didn't have much wiggle room, seem about as impactful as they come, but we got to see how it translates to regular season. But it's hard not to be excited with what we've seen in the preseason.
I agree. I think it's a well-balanced lineup overall. I still think there's a void. I think there's something missing from the forward group. I feel like they could use another top six guy. But I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm hoping like one of those guys like Dawson Mercer or Arsenij Gritz who can really step up and fill that role of a top six scoring player. They didn't really get much outside of like they got Jack Hughes, Nico Bratter, Timo. Like really outside of that, they didn't really get like top six offensive contributions from really anyone else. So it's gonna be important that other guys chip in. Depth scoring is so key if you want to stay consistent, win games, go on win streaks, make the playoffs, win Stanley Cups. I mean, that scoring's just really important. You can't just rely on the top guys to get it done every single night. That's not how it works in hockey. So, hope some other guys step up. And if not, like, look, you had the trade deadline. I don't know what the Devils going to be like cap wise because they're already in the negatives as it is. And I know they're going to move some stuff to be back into the positive, but we'll see. Maybe down the line they make a move to bring in a player. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm optimistic about the team. Very confident in Markstrom and Allen. Um, when you'll get Kovacevic back around New Year's, sometime around then. So that'll be also interesting because it's like, oh, who's the odd man out once he returns? So, but that's a conversation for then. So, but super pumped for the season to get underway. One preseason game left, and the Devils face off against the team that they lost to in the first round of the playoffs, the Hurricanes, in their barn once again to start off the season. So that would be nice to get kind of like a revenge game right there. So and get a win there. So we'll see.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add to Nathan had the groin surgery. I know you could argue there's a void in the top six, but Nathan was that guy until December last year. I really wonder how much the groin injury impacted that, because we know it's been something he was dealing with last season and thought he didn't need to get surgery, but then ended up opting to do so. I think he had 8 or 9 even strength goals before Christmas and afterwards had zero. So that's a pretty stark drop off for some if someone was healthy. I'm gonna certainly give him the benefit of the doubt and believe that Stefan Nason, and actually funny this happens right now because just got a notification that he's on the ice practicing in a full contact jersey according to Sam Kassan. So I really do believe that he will be back to that physical guy getting gritty goals, and that would make a huge difference for the Devils. So hopefully for them, that's the case. And yeah, a lot of reason to be excited. Devils have a gauntlet schedule to start off, a lot of playoff teams in a row, a lot of tough competition. But you know what? I say good, because if you want to be one of the best teams in the league, you got to prove that right off the bat. And if they could at least hold their own, then their schedule get a little softer and kind of feast there. Then you're getting off to a nice start. So we'll see what happens for sure. But you got to be able to beat good teams to be a good team. So I don't think it should really be any cause for concern whatsoever. Any final thoughts, Justin?
No final thoughts. Next episode, we're gonna review what the lineup's gonna look like opening night and also what it looks like when healthy. So we'll give you what the lineup has been looking like in practice and give you our thoughts on how the lines are going to work, if anything's going to change, who we think is going to work and play well together. So, and also we will give our season prediction of the Devils' record and where they will finish if they make it, if/when they make the playoffs. I would hope so. They make the playoffs. So, but yeah, looking forward to that. So yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate all your support. Looking forward to getting down to that. Um, it's just so nice to have hockey back. It was a very long summer, especially with how dreadfully slow the off season was. I mean, basically nothing happened after July 1st. So, gonna be exciting. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode, and peace out.